Hello everyone and welcome back to our Japanese Sound. So 2 weeks ago, you might remember I did a video about looking at a few different auctions that were happening right now, talking about the current prices of the different records, showing exactly what we are supposed to be looking at when trying to bid on certain records, and exactly which ones were the most interesting ones to bid on. So this time I would like to take a look back at the different items we saw 2 weeks ago and look at exactly how much they ended up at, see if those were good prices, bad prices, and a few of them are really surprising. I really hope that you will stick around to see that. And of course, we're gonna look at a few current auctions because there are really a couple of extremely interesting items that are going on this weekend, and hopefully you will have the time to bid on them by the time this video goes online. So first, let's look at a couple items that were previously on my watch list. So as you can see, there are a lot of things since last time, but we're just going to look at the most important ones. And of course, the big ticket item this time is this copy of Magical by Junko Ohashi. And you might remember me saying, yeah, this is a good record. I might bid something like 40 to 50,000 yen. Of course, I was way off on this one, but this is completely out of the norm for the price of this record. The usual price in this condition would probably be in the 60 to 70,000 yen range, so $600 to $700. Of course, the record has seen a big increase in price recently, but not to this extent. And a few days later, we might have shown it also on the video 2 weeks ago, but a copy that was in lesser condition and with a couple of rental stickers actually went for 40 to 45,000 yen. So unless there has really been some kind of paradigm shift in the world of collecting records where records in pristine conditions are worth multiple times what a record in usual condition is worth, this price is an anomaly. So what we can do to check out exactly what happened is to look at the list of bidders and see exactly how many people were willing to bid on it and at what prices. Okay, so this is actually my own bid, interestingly, for 45,000 yen, but then a regular buyer, this a few hundred reviews, looks like a regular record buyer actually bid 126,000 yen, so we are already way above of what is expected for this record. And then there are two different buyers, one that is relatively inexperienced, but when you look at my own reviews, I don't have that many. It's just experience is not a matter of the number of reviews, so we can give this person the benefit of the doubt. And when you look at this, several tens of thousands of reviews, this means it's probably a proxy website, things like Zen Market, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty weird to see Magical end up for this kind of price, especially as finding good, like this item in good condition isn't that rare. It's not completely unheard of, but maybe we are in a new universe and Magical is now worth like $1,500 or more. Anyway, this was another record that we were talking about in the video. It's called Funky Best, and it's an album that is pretty interesting because it's by Jiro, Inagaki, and other people. I don't remember exactly who, but Jiro Inagaki is of course responsible for funky stuff, and this is the closest you can find to funky stuff, except that it's a bit less interesting because it's covers of funk songs with vocals instead of pure original compositions and purely instrumentals. Despite that, the record actually fetched 111,000 yen, so way above the $1,000 mark, which is extremely surprising. Of course, the condition was really good, and you never know where the price can end up in those situations. Regardless, I am very surprised to see this kind of record fetch this kind of price, but there have been so few sales over the last years that this is the kind of record that's a wild card. It's not that well known though, so you might be careful when you might want to be careful, sorry, when bidding that kind of price on it. Another couple items that I like are Hiroshi Sato's records. So just to give a few words about them, this was a copy of Aqua that I really enjoyed because great condition of the obi, the jacket too, and disc, everything was green flags on it. I'm pretty surprised that it only went for a bit above 10,000 yen, of course, plus 800 yen shipping. If I didn't already have a copy of Aqua, I would have bid it pretty much above that, but the market is pretty volatile, and this is really surprising because LA Records is a trusted seller. Usually the bids are higher on it than bids for an average seller. Anyway, if you won this auction, then congratulations. I think it was a great buy. Same for this copy of Orient. You can see the final price is above about 20,000 yen, $200 with shipping. To compare it with my copy that I bought a few months ago, it was 15,000 yen and the condition was a bit worse than that. So again, it's pretty much in line with what we can expect for Orient. We have definitely been seeing a few more sales than usual this year, which drives the price a little down when like you subtract buyers, when you put the same record on sale multiple times in quick succession. So you might want to take that into account, but still 20,000 yen for this record. It's yes, pretty much standard for this. Anyway, I really want to take again a few minutes to show my current watch list because as you can see on, I think this Sunday, we have those 4 items that are extremely important if you are at all into ambient music, Japanese ambient music at least. So let's do that. First, interesting copy of Variety that I have on my watch list because it's the 30th anniversary reissue, and it's a pretty rare one. It's not often that you see it on auction. Of course, this one has been here for a while and nobody has been buying it yet at this price, but I'm still keeping it on my watch list to see when someone buys this record. It's more like some kind of stopgap for me to see, yes, this record has become popular enough that someone actually pulled the trigger on this particular copy. So it's not something that I actually intend to buy at this price yet, but I'm monitoring the market, you could say. Still, this copy of Ryo Fukui in New York, extremely surprised that it still hasn't sold. I'm almost considering buying it myself. Yeah, but I prefer to keep my money for different items. But if you are hesitant on this copy, I say go ahead for, I think they lowered the price a little by 500 yen since last time. So if the price last time wasn't enough, this would be a great price to do it with the obi and etc. Now, let's move on to the ambient releases. This one is not part of the 4 ones that end on Sunday. This one actually ends on Saturday, I would say. This is, of course, Stillway by Satoshi Ashikawa. The price is a bit high. The usual price for a good-looking copy like this would be probably in the 25,000 yen range. These days, it's been pretty hard to find really good-looking copies like this, but it's important to note that the seller is saying B+ condition of the jackets and the record, so it's not a pristine condition. As I will show in my next video of what I bought in September, one of the few things I bought was a promo copy of Stillway. And I actually didn't know that kind of copy existed. I didn't know that the Sound Process label, did promo copies of those records. Anyway, this is a decent purchase if you're really looking for the upper end in terms of visual quality of the jacket. It's pretty rare to see something without apparent browning on the jackets. And of course, this will only worsen as time goes on. Now, let's move on to the 4 really interesting items of this weekend. First, it's a copy of Nova with the obi, and it's pretty rare to find a copy of Nova with the obi for some reason. I don't know exactly why. Maybe because sometimes Nova came in a different packaging, like in some sort of cardboard packaging, and doesn't have the obi originally, something like that. In any case, 15,000 yen is a bit high, but what you need to know about those 4 copies is that they are the best that you can find, period. So this will really make the price higher than you would for typical near mint copies or even typical pristine copies. Like, no matter how you look at it, the record is in such good condition that people will pay extra to really get the top quality. And of course, as I'm saying that, I notice that there are, I think, a few spinner marks on the label, plus a few bronze stays on the insert. This one is not maybe as mint as someone would hope when paying 15,000 for Nova, but there haven't been many sales recently, and I think Nova has been in a bit of a cooling period in terms of price. But remember, it's a very iconic item. It's one of the few records, one of the only 2 records that were sold by the Misawa Home label. And this really cannot be understated in terms of importance for Japanese ambient music. So if you've been wanting for a copy, I would say this one is pretty good, but you could try and wait for a better one if you are really close to your money. Now we have, of course, Music for 9 Postcards, a fantastic album by Hiroshi Yoshimura. The current price has been extremely stable, and for at least 5 years, the price has been hovering around 20 to 25 to 30,000 yen for good copies with the obi. This one is, again, really good. Like, the edges, the corners are all very sharp. like even the back of the jacket is really a clean white. The two inserts look very good. It even has some kind of promo inserts extra with those drawings of birds that are definitely the type of drawings that Hiroshi Yoshimura liked to make. So that really adds up a little to the value. And for 25,000 yen, if I didn't already have a copy, I would be absolutely buying this one. I might even buy it just for the sake of having a pristine copy. But let's look at what the sellers say. In any case, near mint, definitely this is the kind of copy that you want if you are a fan of Hiroshi Yoshimura. The price hasn't moved for 5 years, and someday it's going to move again if Mr. Yoshimura stays on the same popularity trend as he has for the last 5 years. This is a really strong buy. Now, for the two next items, we are really into the big hitters in terms of recently becoming popular Japanese records. We have Green again by Hiroshi Yoshimura. You can see that it's the original and not the reissue, thanks to the air part of the label here, and also the transparent, semi-transparent obi. So this is an easy way to see it's the original, since it has the obi. Another way to find out whether it's the original or the reissue, if you only have the jacket without the obi, is to look at this part of the record, and in the bottom you can see like the 1986 date instead of 2020 for the reissue. In any case, this is again a stellar copy. If you are looking at the obi and say, yeah, the obi doesn't look in perfect condition, but there is no copy of this record that has a perfect obi, because like the way it's stuck onto itself, it can never really look perfect, so you don't need to take that into account. But again, perfect corners, just doesn't look like the record has been taken out of a plastic bag ever. Like maybe microchips here and there, but the market of records isn't like the trading cards market or the comic book market. You don't have the same type of grading on the really top end that you would have with, say, baseball cards. At least not yet. Maybe in 20 years, the landscape will be completely different. But this is among the top copies that you can find. And again, insert in great condition, and something that you don't see all the time, it's the postcard that was given sometimes with the record. I don't think it was always given out, but you can see that the care that the seller took, the precaution that he or she took with preserving the items. So that's a really strong sign to be on this record. Of course, we can only trust the seller in terms of near mint quality of the record, but I definitely trust him given the rest of the condition. Now, about the price itself, 100,000 yen is the price for a near mint copy of Green today. That's what I paid for my copy, and that's what you can definitely expect to pay for this one. I'm very curious to see if someone will bid, because when the starting price is right at market value, sometimes it takes a while to find a buyer. Whereas if you start at a very low value, you will find more bidders, and sometimes the value at the end of the auction will be higher than it would have been if you start at 100,000. Anyway, those are just my 2 cents, and let's finish off strong with an extremely rare and valuable record. It's an Oscilation circuit. Funny because they wrote it with only one L instead of 2. This is the 4th release in the Sound Process label, after 9 Postcards, Still Way, music by Eric Satie, and this is of course the 4th one, but it's not part of the Wave Notation series. It's part of a different series called Serie Reflexion 1. Anyway, this is probably the rarest of the Sound Process label records. It's very hard to find in that kind of condition. Only has been sold like 5 to 8 times on auction in the last 5 years. Only a couple of the copies had an obi, and out of the 3 copies that I found with the obi, this one is definitely the best one. There is no discoloration of the obi around the edge, which is a common issue to be found on this kind of record. Again, insert, beautiful condition, same thing for the jacket, like nothing to say. And this is really why the record has this kind of price points. The current price point would be around, let's say, 60 to 70,000 yen for a typical near mint copy. I paid for my VG Plus copy around 40,000 yen. But again, this is such a rare occurrence that you really don't have any idea of what exact price is going to end up at and what kind of bidders it's going to attract. So it's really going to be fun watching how those auctions go. Maybe none of them will find a buyer, maybe all of them will. In any case, I really hope that we will have a bit more data on the price of this kind of record in this kind of condition. So you can also look at a few other items I have on my watch list. Just in a few minutes, like to wrap up the video. Recently I've been watching Daft Punk's Discovery album, and especially the Japan-only version on vinyl record. Usually it goes for something like 30 to 40,000 yen. It really depends on a lot of factors. This one doesn't have the obi, and it's priced pretty competitively at 25,000 yen. It hasn't found a buyer yet. It's like, at least it has been for sale for a while. So I might be reading the market wrong, but this would be something I would want to buy if I were really into the market for that. And something that hasn't popped up in a really long time, at least 5 months, are copies of the original of Serie by Ryo Fukui. We have seen several copies of Melodream recently, and we can see that the current price would be something between 30 and 50,000 yen for good copies. Now, Serie, of course, must be higher, but there is a big disparity between perfect copies, like copies with the obi and so on, and copies without. Those are both copies that have a very high starting point. It's hard to justify a bid at those price points. But let's see, for instance, this one at 80,000 yen might find a buyer, especially after 5 months of no copy showing up on Yahoo Auctions. Those are just my impressions on the auctions that we have currently and the previous sales that we've had in recent days. But as always, let me know what you think of it. Maybe we can organize a live stream someday to just look at auctions that are finishing and discussing in direct and maybe answering the questions in real time. But maybe for that we would need to have a bit bigger of an audience. Let me know what records you would like me to look at on the next videos and so on. I'm always open for suggestions. And yeah, this has been Very Japanese Sounds, and until next time, stay tuned.